There have been more extraordinary developments in the Middle East overnight, with Iran launching a barrage of missiles towards a US military base in Qatar. Qatar says its own missiles successfully intercepted the attack and no one was injured, as the base had already been evacuated.
Flights have been suspended and airspace closed across the Middle East amid fears the situation could escalate further, with Qatar saying it reserves the right to respond. That could cause even more chaos for Australians travelling via the Middle East to Europe. Let's go straight to our Middle East correspondent, Allyson Horn, who is in Tel Aviv for us this morning. Good morning, Allyson. First of all, just take us through what's happened overnight.
Yeah, good morning, James. So Iran is labelling this the Annunciation of Victory operation. They say they've launched a series of missiles at the United States base in Qatar. It's located just out of Qatar. It's called the Al Udeid base near the capital. It is the United States' largest military base in the Middle East. So that is significant. It houses about 10,000 personnel. We have heard from sources on the ground that about 20 booms were heard in the sky, interceptions in the sky as these rockets were fired overhead. Those sources have also told the ABC that all personnel had been cleared to leave the site before then. That's been backed up by the Qatari government, that has also said that all personnel were evacuated from the site before these missiles came overhead, which would suggest that Iran gave Qatar pre-warning that it was planning to launch these missiles. Now, the Qatari government has said that all the missiles were intercepted, therefore there have been no casualties, but it has condemned the strikes. It's labelled these strikes, this attack, as a flagrant violation of Qatar's sovereignty, airspace and international law, and it has flagged its right to retaliate in what it says could be a proportional response, proportional and equivalent with the scale of this Iranian attack. Iran, for its part, says that these attacks weren't intended as a direct hit on Qatar. They weren't trying to attack the people of Qatar, more that it was committed to trying to present an attack on the United States. But despite that, I think it's clear that this is a major escalation, an attack on the biggest United States military base in the Middle East.
And Allyson, we've heard from the United States, they're saying that none of its personnel have been injured. So how serious is this response by Iran?
Well, I think in some senses Iran would be hoping that this is seen as a bit of a symbolic response. Although it is incredibly serious, it wasn't unexpected. Nobody thought that America's attacks into Iran was going to go unchallenged by Iran. So this kind of an attack was preempted by Iran, and here we have seen it play out here in the last few hours. But given that Iran gave pre-warning, it was a relatively small barrage of missiles as well, it would perhaps be hoping that this kind of an attack is keeping the exit ramp open to allow this to now be seen as the end point in what has happened between America and Iran. Already comparisons are being drawn between an incident in 2020 when America assassinated Qasem Soleimani, the top Iranian military general. At that time, Iran launched a similar response, firing missiles into Iraq, and then following that attack, it was the end of it. So there is some school of thought that now this could be the end of it, although we have heard warnings from the United States before that any attack on the United States and any of its bases would mean that there would be some sort of a retaliation. I think it's important to note, though, James, that the thing that makes this attack a little bit different is that it is on Qatar, a Gulf state that is friends with Iran. In fact, it is the most friendly Gulf state that Iran has. The two share energy and gas assets. Iran has also been a key force in trying to mediate an end to the war in Gaza. So it's heavily invested in this region. It's heavily invested in relations with Iran and also with the United States. So this will really cause a bit of anger in those Gulf states around Qatar, because those states will now feel like they could become targets, states that all have United States bases as well, should this situation continue to escalate.